It's the second Friday of the month, which means it's time for another edition of Corps Connection, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers vlog, which gives you a peek at the work USACE is doing for our nation and our service members. In this month's edition, we look back at Engineers Week, where we celebrated our problem solvers who work to overcome many of the engineering challenges our nation faces. And we encourage future generations to look towards careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. St. Paul District is watching the ice as temperatures begin their seasonal climb so they know when to reopen navigation channels safely. Norfolk District is celebrating the start of an important ecosystem restoration project in Virginia Beach's Lynnhaven River. Kansas City District highlights the construction progress of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency replacement campus and the Tuttle Creek Dam Stilling Basin Rehabilitation project in Kansas. Omaha District is marking a milestone in Iowa with the L594 Levee. It's now flood fight ready as they have restored the levee to full height. The district has also signed a project agreement with Hamburg, Iowa, as they gear up to raise the Hamburg Ditch 6 levee. New York District is hard at work on the Rockaways shoreline near New York City. Walla Walla District brings you the story of Park Ranger Emily Kleinfelter and her service dog Duke, as they patrol areas managed by the Lower Granite Natural Resource Office. The Walla Walla District also takes you on a dive to inspect the Ice Harbor's removable spillway weir. And Lieutenant General Scott Spellman, our commanding general, produced 255 from the fields this month, highlighting the Chickamauga lock replacement and the completion of the Mud Mountain Dam Fish Passage project. Los Angeles District started work on 4 alternate care facilities to help the nation respond to the COVID-19 pandemic this past month, and the Engineering Research and Development Center is partnering with the University of Hawaii to study the effects of dredging on corals. It's going to be a packed episode, so let's jump right in. But before we do, this is Corps Connection. Last month, we gave you some tips about being safe on the ice. And with spring right around the corner, crews from the St. Paul District are measuring the ice thickness at Lake Pepin near Red Wing, Minnesota to help the navigation industry determine when it's safe to break the ice and begin the 2021 navigation season.
My name is Dan Devaney. I am a survey technician with the Army Corps of Engineers. We're out on Lake Pepin and we're at Old Frontenac right now. We were out taking ice measurements. So beginning in February, we start taking measurements of Lake Pepin, measurements of the ice to see how thick it is. That is the determining factor for when towboats can start going up and down the river again. This is where the water slows down the most, and so we get the most ice. Most of the river can stay open, but this spot here determines when boats can go through, because this will be the last place where the ice will leave the river. It's important for navigation to open up and down the river again, because it saves the producers quite a bit of money when they're able to ship their goods up and down the river versus shipping them by more traditional means like rail and semi-truck.
Navigation officials typically wait until the ice is less than 12 inches thick before sending barges north to break the ice en route to St. Paul, Minnesota. Keeping with our navigation theme, locks play a vital role in our nation's economy. With more than 2.3 billion tons of commodities moving along the nation's waterway systems in any given year, locks allow vessels to reach communities up and down America's rivers and canals. Our 55th Chief of Engineers, Lieutenant General Scott Spellman, takes us to the Tennessee River, where he brings us a 55 from the field at the Chickamauga Lock Replacement Project.
Hey team, Lieutenant General Scott Spellman here, 55th Chief of Engineers. I'm here on the Tennessee River at River Mile 471 at the Chickamauga Lock. I'm here with the great commander from our Nashville District, Lieutenant Colonel Sonny Aceval, and Mr. Adam Walker, the PM for this project. Sonny, can you talk to the team a little bit about the importance of this lock on the Tennessee River system?
Yes, sir. So, sir, one of the most important things about this lock is what we have actually on the other side of the lock. So we have our third biggest city within the state of Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. And then also on that side is one of the major infrastructures within the nation, which is the Oak Ridge Complex, which is crucial to our energy security in the area.
Okay. Adam, you've been our project manager out here. You've got a big, complicated project. Can you just share with the team an issue or two that you've encountered and how you've overcome it and keep this project moving?
Sure, yes sir. So the work that's going on right now is our lock chamber contract. Whenever doing large-scale construction like this, you stand to reason there will be some challenges when you're working in the riverine environment with uncertain geology. So as you expose that rock, you never know what you're going to see, but we've been able to do some testing for that, prepare for that, and do the best we can. Also just the skilled workforce that it requires, a large number of carpenters and different concrete placement crews. So when other large-scale projects are going on in the region, they're competing for those resources. So that's always a challenge when doing something of this magnitude.
And I just want to add to Adam's record that he has just passed 1 million man-hours on this project with 0 reportable incidents. So that's just a tremendous safety record. Hey, Sonny, last question. We're focusing hard on partnerships, and you've got a pilot out here for the Corps on the Joint Risk Register. Can you just tell the team a little bit about what that's all about?
Yes, sir. So when we piloted the Joint Risk Register, what it really was we went to the table with all of our risks in terms of what would be challenges that we saw in terms of project completion, and then the contractor came with all of his challenges, and then we were able to mash them together, and so that we were able to put our side into their shoes and vice versa. Now this has been an absolutely phenomenal tool that we've used, updated it monthly, and we still continue to update it to this day, years into the project.
Great. Well, team, you know our vision in the Army Corps of Engineers is to solve the nation's toughest engineering challenges, and Sonny and Adam, your team is doing that each and every day out here on Chickamauga Lock. Thanks for all you do.
The ongoing construction is estimated to be complete as early as December 2024. Keeping Hawaii's Honolulu Harbor open to cargo ships is vital to the state's economy, as more than 95% of all goods coming into the state flow through the harbor. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is preparing to dredge the waterway to keep it safe and open, but with delicate corals in the area, USACE's Engineering Research and Development Center is teaming up with the University of Hawaii to research the effects of dredging on the corals.
Aloha from Hawaii. My name is Justin Wilkins. I'm a research biologist with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I'm part of a team collaborating with the University of Hawaii's Kiwala Marine Laboratory, where we are studying the effects of dredging on corals in the Honolulu Harbor. The Honolulu Harbor, located on the island of Oahu, is the primary commercial transportation center for the state of Hawaii. In fact, more than 95% of all goods imported to the islands come by ship through this harbor. In order to maintain safe navigation in Honolulu Harbor, the Corps of Engineers will be dredging approximately 150,000 cubic yards of sediment in the harbor in 2021. Both the inner harbor and the entrance to the harbor contain coral resources. Corals are an important part of the marine ecosystem and provide many benefits, including habitat, food, and coastline protection. Today I'll be giving a virtual tour of our laboratory space at the Kiwala Marine Laboratory, where we will be conducting a series of experiments with corals to learn more about the effects of dredging-induced sedimentation and turbidity on coral in the harbor. To safely complete dredging projects while protecting sensitive coral species, the Corps of Engineers works closely with local and federal resource agencies to minimize impacts to corals. While dredging, a turbidity plume is created and may drift onto nearby coral reefs. If this happens, the plume will reduce underwater light penetration through the water column or smother the corals as suspended sediments resettle. The Corps of Engineers has a unique laboratory exposure system designed to simulate dredging plumes, which allows us to study the effects of this physical exposure on aquatic organisms. The system was shipped from the Corps of Engineers Research Laboratory in Vicksburg, Mississippi, to the Kiwala Marine Laboratory, where it was reassembled for the study. We have worked closely with the University of Hawaii graduate students and staff to collect and prepare corals for the experiments. We will conduct 2 18-day experiments using locally collected coral species to better understand the effects of dredging both within the harbor and the entrance channel. The knowledge we develop in the laboratory will go into a risk assessment to help minimize dredging effects on corals in the harbor. This is a team effort requiring cooperation between the Corps of Engineers, University of Hawaii, local, state, and federal agencies, including the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The main goal is to ensure safe navigation through the Honolulu Harbor by completing the maintenance dredging project while also protecting important coral resources. This project is funded by Corps of Engineers Dredging Operations and Environmental Research Program, as well as the Ecosystem Management and Restoration Research Program.
Switching from navigation interests to flood risk reduction, our next series of stories take you around the country to various districts working to reduce the risks floods have on communities along many of our nation's coastlines and waterways. Omaha District leads us off as they near completion of the L594 Levee Rehabilitation Project, bringing up the clay core to its designed height and declaring it flood fight ready.
Big milestone. We are now full height clay, what we'd call flood fight ready, in L594. Well, the equipment you see moving around here is basically putting topsoil, spreading topsoil, and leveling the field out. So for our final grading.
We're building a system that will hopefully protect not only the landowners here, but the landowners to the south too, with the setback we'll be able to secure with state funding and local support, the easements to be able to make sure that we have a system that will be robust and stay in place. The way they're building this, I feel confident that this levee will hold for a long time.
This is, for me, this has probably been the best project I've had the opportunity to be involved with. Clutina River is a combination of CDM Smith and Otna Design Build. And for two companies that never knew each other, that met each other on this project, it has gone fantastic. And our interactions with Todd and the Corps have been fantastic.
In the construction world, we are on time and under budget. So that equals a free t-shirt in the construction world.
The L594 Levee project is expected to be fully complete this month. Heavily affected by coastal storms, including Superstorm Sandy, the shoreline at Rockaways, New York, just outside of New York City, is receiving much needed attention from the New York District to help reduce the effects nor'easters and tropical storms have on the community.
Crews are increasing efforts to move as quickly as possible to proceed with the East Rockaway to Rockaway Inlet and Jamaica Bay project. Workers are finishing up the head of one groin and continuing to cap off another as the first two completed groins of the main construction project resumes. The current contract, Contract 1, consists of multiple beach improvements for Rockaway. Groin work is expected to resume until spring of 2021. Then the next phase, Contract 2, which will begin and consist of reinforced dune construction and pedestrian beach crossovers. More sand placement in the later Contract 3 will occur, as well as Jamaica Bayside improvements, which are currently in the design phase.
The total federal investment for all phases of the project is approximately $600 million. Moving back to the Midwest, we check back in with the Omaha District, who is working with the city of Hamburg, Iowa, to raise the height of levees there to reduce flood risks to the residents of that community.
Hello, I'm Colonel Mark Himes, the Omaha District Commander for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and I'm excited to join Mayor Kathy Crane in the city of Hamburg on this important project agreement to raise flood protection around the city of Hamburg. The city of Hamburg was devastated by the floods in 2019, and this project will allow us to increase the flood risk management benefits of this critical infrastructure.
It saves our town. Without this levee, we have no reason to rebuild.
This Section 1176 project agreement allows us to join in partnership with the city of Hamburg to raise the Ditch 6 levee an additional 8 feet.
We have businesses, interest right now that if, like Kathy said, you build the levee to the 919 elevation, they will come back. And that's our main goal is if we get that levee built, you're going to see people come back and you're going to see businesses grow.
We've had a long-term relationship with the Corps of Engineers. We don't always agree. We don't always disagree. We know we wanted them to build our levee because you guys build good levees, and that's what we want, is a good levee.
Again, excited about this project agreement. Look forward to working with the city and upcoming construction this spring.
From coastlines and river shorelines, we now turn our attention to the many dams that USACE operates throughout the U.S. Each one has a stringent monitoring and maintenance program, and this next series of reports gives you a glimpse of just how USACE keeps these water control structures operating as designed. We start off with our Kansas City district, who is working on rehabilitating the Stilling Basin at the Tuttle Creek Dam near Manhattan, Kansas.
Hello, I'm Park Manager Melissa Bean out here at Tuttle Creek Lake with the Corps of Engineers near Manhattan, Kansas. Back in 2018, we announced the start of the Stilling Basin Rehabilitation Project. Original construction on Tuttle Creek began in 1952, and the structures you see here at the Stilling Basin are approaching 70 years old. The Stilling Basin Rehabilitation Project began in March 2018, and although seemingly straightforward, the timeline for this repair was intentionally prolonged to ensure Tuttle Creek could maintain full operational status throughout the construction. The foresight of our engineers and planning team was realized in 2019 when construction was suspended while Tuttle Creek, along with most lakes in our district, reduced historic flood impacts on the Kansas and Missouri rivers. Tuttle Creek set several records during that flood fight, but most notably here with a 30,000 cubic feet per second release of water through this Stilling Basin. We're happy to report that the basin continued to operate as designed even in the midst of a major rehab project. The Stilling Basin rehab work has now resumed, and to date, the completed work includes replacement of the basin walls, drainage system, and all but 8 of the 34 anchors. The remaining anchors are in various stages of completion, and we anticipate the work will be completed and reopened to visitors later this year.
Moving to the Pacific Coast, most people think that the dive season is reserved for warmer southern climates. But the start of cold weather for our Walla Walla district, it marks the beginning of a maintenance period where divers can inspect portions of their facilities without affecting native fish species.
For the Corps of Engineers, the onset of cold weather signals the beginning of dive season. While perhaps not an official season, most dive work is scheduled between November and March when salmon runs are at their lowest. A team of divers suited up at Ice Harbor to perform the required 3-year inspection of the removable spillway weir.
We're doing a dive inspection on the RSW. We inspect all different components of the RSW, make sure that one, it's still working, identify any sort of deficiencies that need to be addressed in follow-up work. We're inspecting the air and water piping system as well as the structure for any sort of obvious anomalies. Where also the divers will also be getting down as far down as 85 feet to inspect the hinges, the hinge connection, and pretty much anything they could find. It's going to be a 5-man dive team plus a 2-man team on a chase boat.
U.S. Associated Underwater Services, and we're a commercial dive company. So we do mainly marine construction, but we also do inspections or repairs or investigations with the Army Corps of Engineers. This particular task is down to 80 feet below the water. That's the only way to get accurate investigation or inspection. So there are ROVs that can use little radio control robots kind of, but it's best to have an actual person down there doing hands-on work for it, for sure. Everything will just be talked about together, videotaped, and then assessed.
The dive investigation will be used to decide if potential repairs are needed for the RSW to ensure its good working condition before juvenile salmon start traveling downriver this spring.
Staying within the state of Washington, USACE's Seattle district recently completed one of the largest fish passage facilities in the world. Our 55th Chief of Engineers, Lieutenant General Scott Spellman, took a trip to see the facility firsthand and filmed a 55 from the field report from the Mud Mountain Dam.
Hey team, Lieutenant General Scott Spellman here, 55th Chief of Engineers. We're coming to you today from the field from Buckley, Washington on the White River at the Mud Mountain Fish Passage Facility. I'm here with the great commander of our Seattle District, Colonel Xander Bullock, and Miss Leah Honstein, our project manager. Xander, can you talk a little bit to the team about the importance of this project to the region?
Absolutely.
Sir, it's hard for me to overstate the importance of this facility to the local tribes. This being the largest fish passage facility in the United States represents a commitment of our nation to the nations in the region of the Muckleshoot and Puyallup and the other tribes and the health of the fish. This is a facility that saw surges of pink salmon and other salmon that could not pass upstream and allowed our flood mitigation facilities to significantly damage the local population. With the opening of this facility, as directed, on time and on budget, using great risk management, which we'll talk about in a minute, it has enabled the fish to pass through the flood mitigation facility in a healthy manner. Up to 1.2 million pinks a year, over 50,000 of 8 other species of salmon will do a great deal to reinvigorate the salmon population in the Sound, assist the southern resident killer whale, and increase the overall environment and economy of the region.
Xander, thank you. We greatly appreciate your leadership on this project. Leah, I use this project as an example of what right looks like when it comes to risk-informed decision making. So can you talk to the rest of the team a little bit about how you manage risk on this one-of-a-kind project?
Sure. Thank you, sir. Methodically, we have a methodical method to both discuss risk, communicate risk, and then get buy-in from leadership on the risks that we are taking on this project. And we talk about risk both in terms of schedule, meeting our schedule objectives, and meeting our budget objectives. We've had different strategies depending on what phase of the project that we're in, but overall we use a risk matrix to outline what our assumptions are, to outline what the different risk categories are that we've thought through in our different courses of action. And then when it comes to cost and the construction phase, we get a coordinated team together, so key members from our PDT, to talk about the different courses of action, what the risk categories are, come up with a recommended solution, and then brief that recommended solution to leadership so that we can get buy-in and get the top coverage that we need to move out and execute the project.
Yeah, thank you. Your leadership has been equally critical in delivering this project, so I want to say thanks. We say our vision in the Army Corps of Engineers is to deliver quality projects on time within budget, but we also want to ensure we are engineering solutions to our nation's toughest challenges, and you have certainly done that here. Leah, Xander, thanks for all you do.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is committed to be good stewards of our environment. So when the Fort Worth District needed to perform maintenance on the Bardwell Lake Emergency Spillway, they teamed up with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department to locate, identify, and safely move species of freshwater mussels and fish to another part of the lake to help conserve these aquatic resources.
My name is Jeremy Spencer. I'm the Natural Resource Lake Manager at Bardwell Lake. Today we're continuing our work on dewatering the emergency spillway out here at Bardwell Lake. What we're doing is we're removing right now the layer of basin water that is down below the concrete structure of the emergency spillway. We're doing that in order to be able to inspect the basin walls as well as inspect the spillway chute itself, inspect the baffle blocks if they're located down there, and do a cleaning out of what is the basin below the spillway. This emergency spillway is actually unique and it's only spilled once in the lifetime of this dam. The dam was impounded in 1964, and the only one time that this emergency spillway was activated was in 2015.
My name is Bregan Brown, and I work for Texas Parks and Wildlife out of Tyler. I'm the Kills and Spills Team Coordinator for Region 2. It's my job basically to help protect aquatic resources and public waters in the state. That job is twofold. I'm responsible for helping people obtain the permitting they need to relocate aquatic resources that are in danger from the work that they're doing. And the other half of my job is to record incidents where we do have injuries and damages to fish and wildlife.
My name is Marty Underwood. I am the Trinity Region Environmental Stewardship Business Line Manager. Flood bridge management is our primary mission, but the environmental stewardship mission is just as important in regards to the dewater. As the FRM team is using pumps to remove the water from the stilling basin, the shoreline recedes and the freshwater mussels are exposed. And as they're exposed, we muck around the mud, crawl around the mud to get to them. And we usually just use our hands and put them in buckets or bags. We ID the mussel and we count them and we put them back in the lake. We are obliged to remove all the treasured aquatic resources in the state of Texas when we dewater these stilling basins. I'd like to thank Texas Parks and Wildlife. Over the years, I've built a really good relationship with them, and they trust us, and we work cooperatively to get the job done. And I'd like to thank Bregan Brown with the Kills and Spills team out of Tyler for helping us on Thursday.
The dewater is done every 10 years and allows engineers to inspect the basin, spillway chute, and baffle blocks for cracks or damage, and clean out the basin below the spillway. A major ecosystem restoration project is underway in the Lynnhaven River in Virginia Beach, Virginia. The Norfolk District is working with state and Virginia Beach to improve the health of this estuary.
These restoration efforts are extremely important because they are all an integral part of helping us achieve the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Agreement goals. The Lynnhaven River was identified as one of the 10 tributaries across Maryland and Virginia to be restored by 2025.
The project really does represent one of the key priorities of our school division, and we feel exceptionally pleased to be a part of it. So thank you for having us here today.
Students will gain hands-on knowledge about natural resources, participate in project monitoring, and interact with their local watershed. The instructors will have great flexibility in their use of the site for educational purposes, and we are eager to see the many creative ways it can be incorporated into interactive lessons. Truly an exciting time and a momentous occasion for the citizens of Virginia Beach and the Commonwealth of Virginia. The efforts to restore the ecosystem here in the Lynnhaven River will result in a healthier community for us all. Thanks again to our collective team of teams for your efforts to get to the project to this point, and for your future efforts to see it all the way through.
The river is a tributary of the lower Chesapeake Bay, which supports more than 3,600 species of plants and animals and has more than 18 million people living within its watershed. Moving to the Midwest, USACE's Kansas City District is in the midst of building a 712,000 square foot facility for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency in St. Louis. The district provides this construction update.
Hi, I'm Gene Morisani, the program manager for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Kansas City District, here at the site of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency replacement campus in North St. Louis. We're overseeing the construction effort of this $1.7 billion program. The 700,000 square foot facility that's going in behind me is going to be the largest federal investment ever in the city of St. Louis and the history of our district. It'll be home to over 3,000 people when it's complete. To turn this 100-acre site into this facility, it's going to take an extraordinary effort. At the peak, we'll have up to 1,000 people per day out here, skilled tradespeople, engineers, construction managers, from our partners at McCarthy Hitt and the Corps of Engineers, all here to design, build, test, commission, and get this thing ready to be mission capable when we turn it over to NGA.
The facility is expected to be open and in full operations by 2025. For a year now, we have all been dealing with COVID-19. As the pandemic continues to affect our daily lives, hospitals in many parts of our nation continue as the front line in the fight against this deadly virus. The Los Angeles District, with assistance from the Omaha District, is hard at work helping FEMA and California provide additional hospital space as they began constructing 4 alternate care facilities last month. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, in support of FEMA and the state of California, is hard at work constructing alternate care facilities in the Los Angeles area. 2 facilities are currently under construction, with 2 more looking to start work shortly.
We had to rapidly, mobilize to support these hospitals. The urgent need was there. And so one thing about the Corps of Engineers is we can leverage across the entire enterprise, not just our district. A good example is we were able to leverage the folks at Omaha District using their contract vehicle, and that allowed us to rapidly get contracts in place, rapidly get the work going here.
At Beverly Hospital, USACE contractors are working with hospital officials to upgrade a 17-bed wing of the building to care for non-COVID patients. Crews are also working to convert a pre-operation waiting room to a COVID staging area with high-flow oxygen.
In collaboration with the state of California, we were able to procure oxygen under this contract, and we are piping it up into 2 areas of the hospital to offer support for COVID-19.
Across town, at Adventist Health White Memorial Medical Center, crews are erecting a temporary structure on the facility's grounds, which will house 80 beds, freeing up space in the facility for COVID patients. Alternate care facilities are temporary and are being constructed to assist hospitals and medical staff handle the influx of patients the pandemic has caused.
We're looking forward to wrapping this up here in short order and allowing Beverly Hospital to perform the services.
Work is expected to be complete on Beverly and White Memorial Hospitals by mid to late March, with the other 2 LA facilities wrapping up shortly thereafter. For the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Patrick Bloodgood. The facilities should be completed this month. We now turn our attention to our people. Last month, we celebrated those individuals who work to meet the engineering challenges our nation faces, our engineers. With every division, district, and lab recognizing our heroes of the spreadsheet and slide ruler, we decided to take a few of these individuals and highlight them here in honor of Engineers Week.
Hi, I'm Deanna Dixon. I'm a research civil engineer at the U.S. Army Engineer Research and Development Center. A lot of my projects involve me doing modeling and simulation projects, analyzing various engineering structures. A lot of people think that civil engineers just deal with bridges. Our people think it's bridges and roads. There's so much more infrastructure that you can reference, like locking dam systems. And I recently started working on a project, military project, dealing with improved ribbon bridge. So that's another form of a bridge that I'm now analyzing and doing on that load studies on, just to make sure that this bridge can sustain the loading of these big, heavy Army tanks that have to cross it. Winning this award is one of my greatest achievements. STEM is challenging, and sometimes I get very discouraged when I don't know something or can't figure out a problem. So winning this award just made me feel that my work is matters, and I'm on the right track. So I just need to continue to push myself and just stay focused on my goals. Do find a passion in mentoring students is because I feel like if someone did it for me, I should do it for the next person, so we can continue to have greatness and very diverse individuals to contribute to this great world of STEM. A lot of people don't know about these different careers in STEM. And so I took it upon myself to, hey, here's other cool jobs. All we know is doctors and lawyers and teachers, which are great professions, but there are other professions out there that need people's help in solving problems. And so I have done career fairs, I've done speaking engagements where I've spoke with students about my job, as well as exposing them to other engineering fields such as mechanical, aerospace, biomedical, and being a scientist as well. So I think it's very important for me to expose different kids, and especially kids that look like me, African American kids, to different careers. So that's how I got involved and found a passion for exposing students to STEM.
My name is Brian Brasher. I'm a geotechnical engineer in the Fort Worth District. What inspired me to become an engineer was growing up and working in my father's electronics workshop. This is where I learned how to build computers, wire electrical circuits, and repair TVs. This sparked my interest in engineering. Since then, I've had a fascination with science and technology, so working for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was the perfect choice for me.
Engineer Week is a week to be celebrated because it's very important for people to understand that engineers take a major part in everyday life. we construct any kind of facility that is accessible to the public. The Corps of Engineers has played an absolutely vital role for the KMC area because it helps with any kind of installation that soldiers and their families use on a daily basis.
This school is significant to me because it is the largest school project that we have in Europe right now. This school is for 1,100 students, and it represents a very important project for KMC community in all of Europe. You could consider it one of our star projects, if you will. We want to focus not only on using excellent high-quality materials that can be provided in Germany, but in addition to that, we really want to focus on the quality of the educational space and providing an experience that's very high for the students who are able to attend this school.
From our current generation of engineers to the next, the Walla Walla District overcame COVID restrictions to hold a virtual outreach event to get kids thinking about careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. It's called 7 Minutes of Terror, the time it took for the Mars rover to enter the Martian atmosphere and land safely without a signal from Earth, because it takes 14 minutes for a transmission to reach the red planet. And it's the basis for the Walla Walla District's annual outreach event surrounding this year's Engineers Week, which has taken on a different twist during the COVID-19 pandemic, as the judges couldn't be in the same room as the event.
That was the biggest challenge, is trying to find an activity that we could judge virtually and then come up with criteria that would make it competitive.
The team at Walla Walla District came up with the idea of mimicking the problem NASA has in landing spacecraft safely on Mars. Using a plastic cup and a ping pong ball, students will need to be able to design a system that'll keep the ping pong ball in the cup when the cup is dropped from 2 feet. While students can build a system to keep the ping pong ball from flying out, there are restrictions on what they can do.
They're not allowed to put anything except the ping pong ball inside of the cup, and they're not allowed to cover the surface, like the cup. It has to be open so that the ball can get out.
Smith also says the cup must maintain its physical shape. No crushing, no cutting, or damaging the cup is permissible. The other design criteria, which has to be maintained, revolves around where items can be attached.
You can only attach to the cup on the bottom surface or like the upper centimeter on the outside.
The overarching goal, according to organizers, is to get students to think about how to work out ways to creatively solve the problems and to not give up.
I just, want them to understand that if they run into a problem, they don't have to walk away from it. There's almost always a solution if there's a problem, if you think hard enough. And sometimes the solution is really simple.
The event will be taking place over a 2-week period, starting on February 21st. And while this year's outreach experience presented a challenge for the organizers due to the COVID-19 restrictions, Smith says it is exactly what engineers do.
We ran into this problem of COVID and we can't go to the schools and some of the schools aren't in session. Well, so what? We're engineers, we solve problems. So here we are, solving the problem.
Engineers from the Walla Walla District will be utilizing online platforms to watch and evaluate the success of each student's design. For more information about the event, go to Walla Walla's website at www.usace.army.mil. For the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Patrick Bloodgood. Our final video focuses on one of our park rangers who, with the help of a service dog named Duke, continues to work with the public and provide high-level service to visitors to areas managed by the Lower Granite Natural Resource Office.
Emily Kleinfelter, a Navy veteran and park ranger at the Lower Granite Project, opens up about her experience transitioning from the Navy to the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as how her team and new partner helps make her a better ranger.
I am 10th generation to serve. My grandmother, she served in World War II, teaching young Americans and Russians how to use the anti-aircraft guns. And she told me stories about my great-grandmother who had served during the Great Pandemic as a Navy nurse. So I joined, and I got to see the world from the back of an aircraft carrier, and it was amazing. And I caught the bug hard. Love deploying.
Emily deployed to Iraq multiple times, and despite her love of deploying, the fight began to take a toll on her. One of her last deployments resulted in her loss of vision, hearing, and nerve control on her right side. Emily deployed 7 times in 20 years with the Navy.
In Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, I exchanged one dream for another. I retired from the U.S. Navy, a Chief Petty Officer, where I had already started my next job in my next dream. I was a park ranger with the National Park Service on the grounds of the USS Arizona. But my daughter was just graduating middle school and we wanted more opportunities for her and to be close to family again. So my husband and I applied, and I have nerve damage on my right side, hearing aids, vision loss. So I was prepared to hear no. I was prepared to hear not on the job. I was prepared to not be a park ranger. And imagine our joy when we were both hired for the Lower Granite system. And we settled in, and I was a different kind of park ranger, but just as awesome. I applied for a bunch of programs, K9 for Warriors and such, and I told my boss, hey, can I bring an 80-pound dog around with me in the truck? You know, walk around the grounds with it, you know, because I have panic attacks while driving and you need me to drive a lot. The entire team got behind me, and my boss said, okay.
Emily got Duke while he was still a puppy, and they both go through training together. Now Emily has Duke by her side, not only in the car to keep her from getting anxiety attacks, but also on the job.
As it makes me a better ranger, because a lot of my job, 90% of my job, is dealing with people. But being able to do that, knowing he's watching my back and my blind side, he's gonna let me know if somebody walks up behind me, is incredibly soothing. He's focus and he's freedom. The guests do enjoy talking about him, and it provides me an opportunity and a platform to demonstrate two things. One, veterans are part of the workforce. And two, the Corps of Engineers is very friendly to us. I can say, have you thought about the Army Corps of Engineers? National Park Service is cool. Bureau of Land Management's great. But have you thought about the Army Corps of Engineers?
So that wraps up another monthly edition of Corps Connection. We'll see you next month as we work to keep you informed about your U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I'm Patrick Bloodgood, and this has been Corps Connection.